15th meeting of the Fitchburg City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating their name and city of residence. Seeing none, at this time, I ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. Councillor Schultz, would you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Schultz.
Here.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Here.
Councillor Walsh.
Here.
President Zarella.
Here.
Councillor Boschman.
Here.
Councillor Kuchar.
Here.
Councillor Cragen.
Here.
Councillor Cruz.
Here.
Councillor Di Natale.
Here.
Councillor Fleming. Councillor Green.
Here.
10 members present.
Thank you very much. We have no one logged in remotely for public forum. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak, please approach the center podium, identify yourself by name and city of residence, and identify the agenda item on which you wish to speak, and you will be given 2 minutes to do so. Seeing none, we will proceed to announcements. The next meeting of the Widowed Helping Widowed Support Group will take place on Thursday, April 24th from 4 until 5:30 p.m. in room 205 at the Fitchburg State University Recreation Center, 130 North Street. Kelly Lynn and Bernie Schultz will co-facilitate the meeting. The City of Fitchburg Health Department will hold a community Narcan and overdose prevention training on Thursday, April 17th at the Legislative Building here. Resource tables from area providers will be available at 5:30 p.m. along with refreshments, and the training will begin at 6 p.m. The City of Fitchburg Health Department will again partner with the Fitchburg Police Department to hold Prescription Drug Take-Back Day on Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon in front of the Legislative Building here at 700 Main Street. Second Chance is hosting a low-cost pet vaccine clinic in Fitchburg on Saturday, April 26th. For dogs and cats, this will be at the Fitchburg Fire Headquarters, 33 North Street, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. There will be available will be distemper vaccines for $18, rabies vaccines for $18, and microchipping for $22. Save the date for the Love Our Pets Festival, Saturday, May 3rd, 10 to 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Crocker Playground. Vendors, pet care, and information will be at 1 p.m. Well-behaved dogs on non-retractable leashes are invited to participate in the Pride of Fitchburg Promenade. It is free, open to kids, families, and adults, and sponsored by Ward 3 Councillor Andrew Kuchar, Be Positive Therapy Pets, and Fitchburg Parks and Recreation Department. Again, this is Saturday, May 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Crocker Field. There will be a Ward 3 meeting this Thursday, April 17th at 6 p.m. here at the Legislative Building. This is hosted by Ward 3 Councillor Andrew Kuchar. Next, we have the report of the Appointments Committee. Councillor Kuchar.
Thank you, Mr. President. We took up 2 appointments this evening. One new appointment for the Fitchburg Human Rights Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2028. David DeJesus. Mr. DeJesus did not make it to the Appointments Committee meeting, so we held that. And then lastly, we had a reappointment for the Fitchburg City Clerk, term to expire April 19th, 2028, Joanne Bellata Simone, and that was unanimously approved 100%.
Make a motion we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second on the motion. Seeing none, any objections? It is unanimously approved. Next, we have the report of the Committee on Records. Councillor Di Natale.
I've reviewed the minutes of the April 1st meeting and watched the recording as I wasn't there, and they appear to be in order.
Thank you very much.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, it is unanimously approved. We have a communication from Her Honor the Mayor, new appointment of Christopher DeLodge as a member of as an associate member of the Fitchburg Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire May 6th, 2027. That will stand referred to the Appointments Committee. Report of the Finance Committee. Councillor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on April 9th. We took up two orders. 065-25, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $150,000 from reserve for other municipal purposes, capital expenses to school building maintenance, capital improvement. That was unanimously approved. The next order gets a little tricky. 068-25, Fire Chief Suarez to petition for an increase on the annual license fee for the fire alarm system monitoring from the current rate of $200 to $300. This increase will take effect January 1st, 2026. We request these funds be deposited into an enterprise revolving fund for equipment maintenance and future upgrades. This fee is charged annually through the City Clerk's office for all fire alarm systems that are monitored by the Fitchburg Fire Department Dispatch Center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we need to amend a couple of things. We took the enterprise fund. It was amended to revolving fund to more accurately describe how the funds will be distributed. We amended it to have it not be done by the City Clerk's office, but internally at the Fire Department. Chief Suarez mentioned that the Fire Department could do that. And then the last part, and this is where it got a little bit of the most confusing, President Zarella motion to divide this petition into two so that we could approve the rate from 200 to 300 and get a little more background information on the rest as far as how the revolving fund would work. And do a little more diligence on our own end with Chief Suarez and the department, and that was approved as amended and divided. Does anybody have any questions?
Councillor Green.
On this particular motion, 068, where we have Chief Suarez here, through me to you, on to Chief Suarez, would you mind having him stand up and tell us how that's going to work then with how the funds and
I'm going to have to divert that to Mr. President as far as what the procedure should be for that. If it's just, I think the petition will be refiled, so we're going to have another Finance Committee meeting on it, so maybe that would be more appropriate. I'm more than willing to do it here tonight, but I think I'll ask Mr. President that question.
Okay, so the first part is just the approval of from 200 to 300.
Correct.
Yes.
That one's done.
That was approved.
That's the non-tricky of the petition.
Correct.
Right, and currently those funds go into the general fund. The $200 that are collected go into the general fund. As of right now, the $300 will go into the general fund. The proposal was to instead direct them into a revolving fund specifically for repair and upgrade of the communications systems.
And actually, President, I believe even the increase will start January 1st, 2026.
Yes, that's correct. And so the reason that was held was because that would, by necessity, be money pulled out of the general fund. It would be revenues that are currently going into the general fund that would no longer go into the general fund. And so we held that in order to assess the budgetary impact before making that move and to consult with the mayoral administration on how that will impact the budget.
Can I ask what that, are we talking thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars?
My interpretation would be somewhere around $90,000
Okay.
annually.
And that will be then in control through the fire department, not general fund or not for the city to touch or manipulate or use.
Correct. That would be the idea of setting up the revolving fund.
And again, stop me if I'm preempting what needs to happen, but how will $90,000 be spent annually to make upgrades to whose communication? At the fire department?
It's a communication system that multiple departments use. It's for the Fitchburg Fire Department, Police Department, DPW, Mass State Police, FBI, and the DEA. It's all the components that are tied into the 7 towers that we have around the station, and also the equipment that we use inside of the dispatch centers.
Okay, so from the IT department is handling a lot of this work, correct?
Cybercom.
Okay.
When it comes to certain components, we do have to go through IT, but a lot of like the repeaters, transmitters, things like that, UPSs, we go through Cybercom or Motorola.
Okay, so moving forward, then we should see in line item from fire department's budget, you taking care of the expense, you incurring the expense and then paying for it from this fund.
An issue with our radio communication tower. We were down for a couple of hours. In order to have that fixed, it's going to cost, we got a quote for $153,000. We do have a line item now in our budget through our fire tower where we will use those funds to help pay for that repairs that need to be done. But once we pay that, that account's going to be almost to nil. So this is why it's just so important that we have funds continue to come in, because we have about $1 million worth of upgrades that need to be done. This is like an 8-year plan that I have. And once we start, we'll start to implement these funds towards upgrading and repairing our communication system. And as I told the Finance Committee, unfortunately, after those 8 to 10 years, it's very similar to painting the Golden Gate Bridge. We'll probably have to start right from the beginning and keep going, just because these components are computers and they just, they get antiquated that quickly. And if I could add one more thing, these funds wouldn't go into our budget until FY '27.
So City of Fitchburg is still going to absorb that cost up until 2027 through general fund or the request from you to make the repair?
Anything that I could pay with my revolving account, I will. At this time, like I said, the funds in my revolving account are going to be expended. Hopefully we don't have any other major crisis between now and then. If that does happen, then I will have to come before the council, the Finance Committee, and ask for some funds to do those repairs.
Okay. Even though $90,000 sounds like a lot of money, it's not a lot when the system goes down and things need to be completely replaced.
Yeah, I think it'll be enough to maintain it. So that's why we need the increase. It was initially $60,000 that we were bringing in a year. This will bring it up to $90,000. The cost that we're charging is still a lot cheaper than what commercial companies charge for their monitoring systems. Once we get ahead of it, I think that'll be enough to just continue to maintain it. The thing, too, with these funds is, we use them to pay for portable radios and things like that. Portable radios cost about $6,000 a piece. There's 4 on each truck, including the mobile, so it's $30,000 to equip just one apparatus. And again, just because of the way the FCC regulates it, the state of Massachusetts, these also have to be upgraded, probably about every 8 to 10 years. And those funds are used to purchase those radios also,
Right.
things of that nature.
Thank you for the update. And I enjoy hearing that you have a plan moving the department forward that may be 8 or 10 years out, but that you are addressing it now and bringing it to our attention. So,
Well, I did have to apologize to the Finance Committee. I didn't give them enough information. They placed that part on hold, and I don't blame them for that at all. I do want to get together with each and every one of the councils, so if they have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those, because it is a lot of information. I know it, but I didn't realize it was, that they would have so many questions, so they placed it on hold, and I don't blame them for that whatsoever. Yeah, it's a good move.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That was the end of my report, so.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept?
Second.
Any objections? Seeing none, it is unanimously approved. Orders 07125 through and including 08025 are all finance orders. With the consent of council, I will waive reading those, and they will stand referred to finance. Next, we have 02025, an ordinance in first reading to adopt the provisions of General Laws Chapter 60, Section 62A, as amended by Section 89 through 91 of Chapter 140 of the Acts of 2024. We approved this in petition form. This is its first reading.
Motion to
Motion to
accept.
approve.
Move to second reading.
On the motion.
On the motion,
On the
Councilor?
motion. I'm going to vote for this, Mr. President, but I want to make it very clear that Council and Council Green sat on this seat with me. We have a problem downtown, and the next time something like this comes up and we don't resolve the problem about watering downtown, I won't support them. You have to understand, Mr. President. we're
Councilor,
putting
this,
apartments
Councilor,
outside.
this ordinance has nothing to do with
I
loitering.
know it's a tax break, but it goes to 533, the same petition that came in front of us at the same time as that. And that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay, but this
It's-
particular ordinance has nothing to do with that, so let's talk about that at another time.
All right.
I have a motion and second to pass 0-2025 through its first reading. Do I have any objections? All right. In that case, it is unanimously approved. 0-2725, also an ordinance in first reading. This was also approved already in petition form, so unless anyone wants me to read out all the terms, I will simply summarize and say that this is a clerical correction to the snow and ice ordinance that we amended several months ago. There was a numbering issue. This fixes it. It is before the council.
Move to accept and send to its second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and second to pass 0-2725 through its first reading. Any objections? Seeing none, it is unanimously approved. 0-8125, this is the final draft of the digital equity plan. This is edited from the version that we had presented to us at the prior council meeting. I have a request for suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second for suspension of the rules. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councillor Bushman?
Yeah, yes.
Councillor Kucher?
Yes.
Councillor Cragan?
Yes.
Councillor Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Di Natale?
Yes.
Councillor Green? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Ms. Murphy?
So there was a presentation that happened at the last council meeting that explained the digital equity plan. I'm not going to go through the plan again, but we had a few minor comments. They were incorporated into the plan, nothing substantive. So the plan really hasn't changed since the last time we presented it to you. So we're asking for approval of the plan, and then our next step will be to apply for some funding to take on some of the things that we talked about in that presentation as action items to implement.
Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Green?
If the plan is accepted with the amendments that you made, how quickly will we be able to implement, or what can we look forward to as far as first steps that we will actually see achieved?
So we have to submit our application to receive the funding. I believe that is, we plan to do it right away, but I think we have to do it by the end of June, and then we would just be waiting for the funds. So once we receive the funding, I think we will plan to work with the library, the senior center. I think those are our two main projects that would be moving forward. So we'd be moving with them, moving this forward right away with that. So really is how fast can we get the money?
So in the 26-27 fiscal year, there will be movement from this plan happening?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Councillor Cruz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I had some questions the last time you were in presenting, and I was wondering if there was any sort of updates or ideas. You kind of said you weren't really there yet as to kind of the broadband partners we would be teaming up with for this in 26-27.
Well, I think the bigger question about broadband, it goes a little bit beyond the scope that we can manage with the funding that we have. So I think your question was about do we expand to include more Fitchburg fiber potentially? Is that?
That was just an example. I'm curious as to, like, you know, where does this sort of end up? With a partnership with Verizon and posters all over the city, or?
No, I don't think we necessarily are going to be exclusively partnering with any one provider. So because of the limitation of the funds, we really can't be attacking the problem at that large level. So if we had that kind of funding, then we'd be having a very different conversation, and probably the plan would look very different. Okay. But I think with the funding that we have, we just don't have the capacity to be making an impact on that level. But setting that aside, it doesn't mean that as a community we're not going to work to try to get the best provider services for our residents, and at the best cost. So we certainly intend to work with all of our providers to the degree that we can.
Thank you, Director Murphy. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Councilor Schultz.
Thank you, Council President Zorla. You said during the presentation there was going to be 56,000 available, up to 100,000. Is that still the case with all the cuts we're seeing
Yeah, this hasn't been impacted so far.
so far? But can it go up to, I think he mentioned it could go up to several $100,000s, or is that still in play?
So right now, my understanding is the 56,000 and then potentially maybe another 100,000. So I think that's what we're talking about now. So, I mean, obviously, if there were opportunities to obtain more funding that will actually have an impact and, some actionable items, we would certainly go after that. I mean, there is a limit to capacity, right? Every grant that you apply for, every funding source then comes with a certain level of work. So we could chase funding all day and then not necessarily have the capacity to manage all of that, but we're not quite there yet.
Will the senior center get the bulk of it, or will it be evenly divided between the two buildings?
I couldn't tell you if it's going to be evenly divided, but it sounds like it will be basically divided as far as the workstations and the education piece between the library and the senior center, and then the library would also be getting hotspots.
Okay. The senior center, they won't be getting any hotspots?
I wouldn't rule that out. I think there could be some flexibility with where we'd have a finite number of hotspots that we could purchase, right? Whether they all go to the library, whether some of them go to the senior center. I don't know that we contemplated the senior center for hotspots, but we could certainly look at that.
They could use all the help they could get there, as you well know.
And they've been really a great group to engage with in this activity, and really helped us to open our eyes a little bit to understand some of the work that we have to do, even just around education, right? Yeah.
I yield the floor. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve. Do I have any objections? Seeing none, it is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our agenda for the evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. Seeing no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.